This is an addendum video to the MT11 kit, where we'll be installing a Cintiq 24 released in 2025. Now, let's pull the camera in closer and give you some details of the installation.
Now, let's go over the things we'll need for the installation. These are the parts that come with the MT11 kit. Now, we've already removed the mounting plate from the Zoot arm already, and these 4 flat washers will not be used in this installation. So we'll only be using the 4 nuts and the nut caps. We have the spanner wrench that we use to remove these nuts, and we have the touch strips and the coiled touch cables. Now, the extras that come with this kit are the 2 1/2 kilogram weights, and we're using the 4 shorter screws. We'll also have some 12 millimeter standoff nuts. Then we'll have a HDMI to mini HDMI adapter. We'll have 2 zip ties. We'll have a cable or a USB cable hook for threading a new cable through the Zoot Pro arm. We'll be installing the cable of the Cintiq 24 power supply through the Zoot arm, so we're showing that here. You will need a scissors or something to cut the original zip ties because we'll need to remount this cable. And I like to have a small wrench just to tighten the standoffs a little bit on here when we're installing them. Oh, and I also forgot the 2.5 millimeter hex wrench that also came with the kit. And we will also need this foam here that came with the original packaging. And that will overlay these feet over here on your Zoot Pro. And it allows the Cintiq to lay on top the feet of your Zoot Pro. So let's go into the details of that. Now, let's set up the mounting plate so things are ready to go. First thing we'll do is attach the weight kits here. So you'll see these 2 screw holes on the outer edge. Now the weights will align on those screw holes. So I'm going to kind of eyeball this in so everything lines up. Eyeball this in so everything lines up. Then I'm going to take my screws that came with the weight kit and drop them into place. Then I'll go here and put a little pressure on these screws to tighten them up. You don't need to get too carried away, just a little snug. And there we go. Now our weights are installed. Now we'll install these standoffs. These standoffs are required mainly because when you're twisting the screen around or using rotation on the screen, the touch strips attached to the back of the screen can scrape on the Zoot arm. So, bit of a problem, but these take care of that. If these aren't tightened when you're tightening and loosening the nuts, it also tends to move these around. But if you tighten these up, then the installation of these nuts and removal of those nuts is a lot easier. So I'm just going to kind of snug these up a bit. Once again, don't try and go gorilla on it, but just snug them up so that there's a good amount of friction. There we go. And there we go. So those are all snugged up right now. In this stage, we're going to be installing the Cintiq 24 power cable through the Zoot arm. Now, there are 2 ways of doing it. One way is to take the existing power cable in the Zoot arm, labeled screen power, and use that to pull this cable through the arm while pulling out this original cable. that involves using some tape during that process to tape this cable to this cable. We will not do that in this step. There is an additional step that I link below where you can use that. Instead, in this one, we're going to leave the power cable in the arm and instead just pull a new cable through the arm using this hook mechanism. Now, this is just basically a stick with a hinge and a hook on the end, intended for hooking up USB cables to pull them through the arm. All right, and I'm showing the scissors here and these two zip ties because we're going to have to cut two zip ties inside the arm to attach this cable inside the arm so it won't wiggle around and get pinched by any mechanisms in the arm. So let's start by repositioning the camera. And oh, one other thing I almost forgot here is we're also going to need the Zoot Pro power supply to power the brake mechanism in the arm. That will allow you to hold the arm in a given position when using this stick, such that it just makes your life easier when you're trying to pull the cable through. As a matter of fact, I will show you that I am hooking the power supply now. Where you want to look on the MT11 kit, there is a label Zoot power supply. You will hook the Zoot power adapter to that, and then you will plug in the Zoot power adapter. There we go. And if everything is working here, you will see these two lights light inside here for your brake mechanism. Now, looking at the Zoot Pro arm, the brake system is on, and we're going to push the arm forward, and it's going to keep its position as we push it forward. Here we have the arm almost to a 40 to a 30 degree tilt, and that's going to help out when we're using our cable hook. Hi, Chris from the future here, and I am showing you the new cable hook to fish the power cord through the arm. So the cable hook here has to be inserted with the hook end up because this hinge only bends in one direction. Also, the Cintiq 24 screen is gone, so we're going to be simulating the power cable with this Zoot USB cable here. So number one, the first thing that we have to do is prep these cables on the bottom such that it's easy to put the hook through. Now the first thing we're going to do is take these cables and get them to go as far as they can in this direction over here so that they're out of the way and kind of held to this side of an opening under the arm. Now what we're going to do is look inside the arm, and we're going to see these magnet cables here. We don't want these cables covering up the hole over there, so we're going to kind of pull them over here and make sure that they're out of the way of this hole and that there's a nice easy opening to put the hook through. All right, now we're viewing the top of the arm, and I'm going to peel back this sheath that goes over the top of the arm, and you'll see there are two toggles there. Now you reach up on the elastic and grab onto that behind it and put this toggle through the sheath. Now in behind here, you'll see that there are a couple of notches in this plastic logo plate. We're going to stick that. Oops, sorry. Not easy to film at the same time. Okay, we've stuck that in, and we'll do the same for the other side. I'll show you in a bit how this looks. And here we are placing the toggle in the sheath. So they're both stuck in these little holes here. Now we're looking inside the arm, and we see where we're going to go all the way down there in the bottom. Now, if we look inside the arm, there's a little post here where you can see there's kind of a central opening, and we're going to go to the right-hand side here through the arm and kind of push forward, and it will come to the point where the hook bends and goes through the hole. All right, so here we are. We're viewing the bottom of the arm, and we can see that the hook is sticking through here. What we're going to do is take the USB cable, and we're going to kind of push the hook in a little bit, and now the USB cable is resting in the hook, and now let's pull the cable up. Pulling the cable up is a two-handed job. We're going to feed in from the bottom and pull from the top. So we have to make sure that the hook isn't catching on the side of the hole. Then it's just kind of feed and pull at the same time. And there we go. Our USB cable is out. Now we're looking in the top of the arm, and we have our USB cable with plenty of slack. And we're going to weave the cable through this cable guide up top. And then out the hole in the center of the arm. Measure. So here's a different view to make things easier to view. You want the butt of the ruler over here against this plate, and you want to pull the cable out till the end of it gets 10 plus inches away from the space plate. And that ensures you have enough slack here to plug into the screen. Now, after we've measured from the end of the USB cable back to the base here, we're going to take out the slack in the cable. So we're going to go here. We're going to wiggle the cable. It's this one. Take out the slack. Take out the slack, and then ideally we're going to take out the slack all the way down to the bottom here. Now it's time to attach the zip ties and secure the cable in place. Put the toggles back in the sheath at the top of the arm. And this toggle fell through when we worked on it. That's a pretty regular occurrence. I'm going to use my cable hook here. I'm going to see inside where I see the elastic band and kind of fish it up. It's not going to reach all the way to the top, but I'm going to be able to reach in with my fingers and pull out the old toggle here and place that in and kind of clean things up at the top of the arm. There we go. Now, we don't want the arm stuck in this position anymore. So I'm going to disconnect power to the Zoot arm, and it's going to pop back up to its upright position. We're going to look inside the arm now, and you'll see that in here, there is a zip tie right here. And what we're going to do is cut that zip tie. And pull that out. Now I'm going to reach inside, and we can see here, I can see that this is the new cable coming in. We want to grab all these cables here and bundle them together, because if they move around here, they can get pinched and cut, and we want to make sure they're secure. So now we'll take our zip tie and go around the cable bundle here. I'm using my fingers to go around all of these with the zip tie. And there we go. Now we have a zip tie that wraps all those cables. Gonna have to let me go here. Kind of got lucky. And I'm gonna secure the zip tie. And then I'm going to slowly tighten the zip tie here. Oh, I got to make sure that everything is there. Oh, now, the one cable that doesn't go through, that may or may not go through this cable bundle is the brake controller cable. Make sure that that's still in place there. And looks good. Now, we cut the excess off this zip tie. There we are. Now that cable isn't going to drift around in here and get itself pinched. And now you can see that if you look from the side, By moving this arm around a little bit, it locked this secondary arm up a little bit. We can fix that by kind of pushing this forward, and then it just fixes itself, pops down, and then comes back to its normal position. So everything's set up there. Now let's take care of the bottom. We're going to have to route the power supply through the anti-topple arms here, and they have their covers. Okay, now it's time to route the cables through the anti-toppling arm. To start with, we have this cable tag here, and as the illustration shows, you put the cable tag inside this section of the arm, and that is to provide adequate slack here so these cables don't get pinched. Now, if you notice when you push the arm forward, those cables get sucked in. And if there is not adequate slack there, these cables can cut into the arm over here and damage themselves. Now, we can either cut this zip tie off and install the power cable into the bundle, but instead, it's easier just to push it there, mirror the slack that's already there, and then we just kind of stuff in with your thumb over here to make sure everything is in there. Then you take the double bubble cable cover and put that over the top. Push it down, make sure everything's here, make sure everything's there, clipped in. Now we have the single bubble cable cover. And we put that down, and there we are. Our cables are installed. Now, here we are all ready to go and hook up the cables to the Cintiq Pro. So first, we're going to get our foam pads, and we're going to place those over the feet and have the cables on top. Then we still have this power cable in here. We're going to steal one of the Velcro tabs from the back of the arm, and we're just going to roll this cable up and secure it such that it's not really doing anything inside the arm here. Keep it out of the way. Okay, that'll be tucked in behind the screen. Now, we have our HDMI to HDMI mini adapter. We're going to attach that to the HDMI cable. There we go. And now, let's bring the screen on in. So here we are with the screen. We have the mounting plate on it here, and we can see how it overlaps that cable bay. And that's where things get tricky. And that's because the USB cable here is covered up. So what we're going to want to do is, now note here I have the screen on this foam pad that came with the packing kit also. Going to get that in really nice and close. I'm going to lay this close to the screen and probably move it over this way a little bit. This is the power cable that comes from the Cintiq 24. Now, with the USB cable that came with the MT11, we're going to put that one to the inner USB-C port right there. Then we're going to hook the HDMI cable in here to the display. And this is a little tight right here. We'll hook that up later. And here, for the mounting plate, these two oval holes here align with the bottom of the screen here. And the bottom of the screen has this rubber strip at the bottom of the Cintiq Pro. Take the mounting plate and go over here. And this has a 75mm hole mounting pattern. So it's the inner 4 holes here where you're looking to line up with the Cintiq Pro. And I'm kind of going back and forth here to make sure that I can see the screw holes line up with the screw holes of the mounting plate. Then I'm going to take the thumb screws. It came with your Zoot kit. Now we'll just kind of keep tightening them up. Go around so they're all snug. There we go. Now, here's a tricky point. The screen is now ready to go on the arm. I'm going to lift up the screen over here and kind of balance it on top. So now we're going to hook up the screen power by placing it in this far power USB, or this far USB-C slot. Then this HDMI cable will go out this side and around into this port. It has a lot of slack to burn up. The USB cable will go out the top and then in behind the screen, and the Wacom power will go directly out this side of the adapter. Now, these screws will go into the mounting plate holes over here, and we have our nuts over there ready to go, and the wrench. So, with everything kind of lined up, we're going to go here, put the screws through there. We're going to make sure that all our cables are going where they're supposed to. Tilt it back, and it's ready to go. Now we're kind of holding here, and we're going to take a nut here and just hand tighten it. Just making sure the screen's not going anywhere. Okay, that's a major danger point done. Then we'll put another nut in here on the bottom. Good. Another nut. There, another nut. There, and now we'll just tighten up. All right, now we're going to put the nut caps on, and we can remove all this foam. Now we're ready to put the touch strips on either side of your Cintiq 24. So to start with, each touch strip has a right and left-handed side. So you want to make sure that when attaching the touch strips, the cable adapters point towards the center of the screen. So I can see that this touch strip would go on that side and this touch strip would go over here. Note the color may be different on your adhesive pads here, but the idea is that you're going to, sometimes it helps to have a tweezers to peel these pads off, but I can kind of dig in there with my fingernails, grab a hold of these, and go here. Then you have these knobs on the top of your screen. I'm just lining that kind of up with the top of the screen and the knob here, and push in. Then we'll do the same to this side. Once again, I'm able to get that. Peel with fingernail. Get a little stubborn. Peel, peel. Got it. There. Align with the nub. Align with the side. Press. Press. Ready to go. Now the coiled cables here have an angled portion and a straight portion. Let's just put the straight portion in here, and we'll change the camera angle when attaching the angled portion. There we are. Now, what I want to point out is right here on this plate under the arm, there are 3 headphone jacks. All jacks work for detecting touch. You will take the angled connector over here, and then you will plug it into the jack closest to the touch strip you're connecting it to. Likewise, over here, there is a far angle jack. So there you are. Both your touch connectors are here, and this is the combiner board. Now you can go ahead to the next section where you're going to test the touch strips.